Good evening, everyone. This is Amy, the Mystic Rose Tarot. I want to share a reading that I did this past weekend that on the odd occasion, when I do a reading for myself, and this was an evening meditation reading for me, but in general, whenever I do a reading for myself, on the very rare occasion, I get some readings from the cards that kind of surprised me as to how well they feel the energy of what I'm going through in myself and in the surrounding environment. And this reading was another exception. And when I do evening meditation readings, I don't go into a reading where I have a set question. I let it be intuitive. I let whatever energy, whatever spirit guides are with me at that moment. And when I flip over the cards, I just keep it very spontaneous. So I've been, in the last few months, just to give a bit of a backstory, and if you've been watching some of my videos a few months back, and also on Instagram, I've been focusing a lot on astrology in the tarot, and I've been breaking it down with the decans, how they play a role in the minor arcana based on the planets and the signs that they're in. Also, if you watch my channel or check in every now and then, twice a month I do Mystic Moon Mondays, where that Monday is just discussing moon energy, its phases, the signs that it's in, and just the relationship between the signs, the phases, and the moon, the position of the moon. And so all this it's been really coming very strong for me. And so I've been taking time the last few months since I've taken hiatus from my side gig. I've been focusing entirely on the tarot and looking at different systems to explore, and if one resonates with me, just bring it into the tarot. And the one thing that keeps coming back is the astrology. I'm not an astrologer. I don't go into depth with the readings, with transits, aspects. That's almost difficult to do unless you have a deck, and I know there's a few decks that are coming out that focus on the transits, the different positions of the planets, so on and so forth. But for me, the astrology influence I want to bring into the decks and into my practice is just the signs, the planets, the houses, and then of course the sun and the moon. And with Pluto and Uranus being somewhat newer planets, those are generational planets, I don't focus too much on those. I focus on the first 7 planets that come up in astrology, and bring that energy, their influence, into the tarot. And it has definitely deepened my practice. But I'm going on a little bit about this because the reading that I did this weekend, again, was just more of an intuitive read. And I worked with 3 decks, 2 which are tarot decks and 1 that's an oracle deck. 2 of the decks, one of being oracle, the other one being tarot, are using influence of Wicca, pagan, gods, goddesses, tools that are used in the Wiccan and pagan practices, the energy that comes from from using those tools, but also connecting, especially with Witch's Wisdom, connecting that energy directly to Mother Earth, and how sourcing Mother Earth's energy can actually be healing and empowering, but it can also be destructive and disconcerting when not used properly. Disconcerting, I don't know if that was the right word. But anyhow, these three decks, well, the other deck is the Mythical Creatures Tarot. These decks, the Witch's Oracle, Mythical Creatures Tarot, and the Witch's Oracle are the three decks that I've just been going back to. They are more recent decks, but for some reason, I think the arrival of these three decks within a few weeks of each other, and this was during the few weeks before Samhain, these seem to connect very well. And it's energy-wise, a little bit of the artwork, but there's just something very special. And I consecrated these decks under various phases of the moon to cleanse and also to empower these decks for my readings. And by God, I think it worked. So I want to share this reading because, as I mentioned, every now and then, not every now and then, but on the very rare occasion, I get a reading where it just feels like it is so in line with what's going on, like I had already discussed. So it's an awakening. And it's something that's very important. I'll discuss a little bit more about this after I go through the cards and just give my intuitive feeling of the outcome that I got from just these three cards. I don't like to do full readings for an evening meditation because I'm doing this before I go to sleep. And I can't have that kind of, for me, I can't have that kind of intense reading before I go to sleep. I used to do readings like that when I was learning the tarot, but I was doing readings like after 11 o'clock at night where my mindset was really focused on this. So I did these readings and I left it upstairs. I did this reading during the new moon in Scorpio. And I know I'm going back to astrology. Scorpio, especially in the new moon phase, is very powerful. Scorpio is, and I've been talking about this the last few weeks, so I'm sorry if it is repetitive. You could skip what I'm about to say because I'm going to say it again. Scorpio is a sign of intensity, passion, drive, really, really like having blinders on, really focused on what motivates them. And with the new moon in Scorpio, new moon is the moon is black. We got no light. We are in a void. We are left in this void to our own devices to figure out what is going on, how to heal, how to banish energy, and how to bring energy in. Yes. And so I just felt this weekend was the perfect time to do this. My energy was a little bit low, and this may sound odd, but I seem to get more in-depth readings when my energy is a little bit on the lower side, because I'm a little bit more relaxed. I'm not pent up about certain things. So, hi, sweetheart. So I feel that during that time, especially with the new moon, everything was kind of heavy energy for me. Going to bed early, feeling really like I really need to take care of myself, which is the hint towards one of the cards that I got here. So, yes, sweetheart. So the order that I did these cards in, again, these decks have no connection to each other, with the exception of the Wiccan pagan influence, and mythical creatures being more of a Marseille tarot deck and dealing with the energy of mythical creatures of European folklore. So the first card I picked, and I've been getting a strong calling from the Witch's Oracle. Baby, he likes to do this whenever I'm doing a live, for the most part. The first deck that I've been feeling really called to was the Witch's Oracle deck by Sally Morningstar. And so the card that I pulled is a wisdom card. I'm not going to go into great detail about it. What we know of the owl is they are the keeper of wisdom. Here it's the wisdom keeper. We have the key above the head of the individual who is harnessing the energy of the owl and for its guidance. And then the back, which is interesting. As I look at this, I'm sort of feeling like these are wolves in the background because these look like ears. Some creatures behind them that are watching what's up ahead, what's taking place. Here we have the person holding the shape of the key for guidance, complete connection to what they're working on and focusing on. So when I pulled this card, I was just like, yeah, sweetheart. And I felt like this is where I am, because as I mentioned earlier, I'm practicing and I'm self-learning the astrology aspects and bringing them into the tarot. And so to get this card was very much almost like a blessing. It's like saying, you're doing good, just keep going. And I'm staying on this path. This card, because it was the first card, it's like, okay, this is nice. This is a nice welcome card. And the energy just feels perfect. So I'm staying on this, holding the key for wisdom. And I'm going to go back to this card after I'm done going through the cards, because one of the other cards that I pulled is going to relate to next year. The next card that I pulled, randomly shuffling, is the Witch's Wisdom Tarot by Phyllis Curott, which came out, I think, about 2.5 weeks ago. This is a very earthy deck, as I mentioned, connecting with Mother Nature, reaching your highest self through these sources, through the elements, understanding how each of these elements work, how to manifest them, how to respect these elements and bringing them into your practice. So the Witch's Wisdom Tarot has a different system. The Major Arcana has been renamed, and it has different nuances for the RWS. So for instance, and actually I'm going to have to pull out the book for this, because when I get a tarot deck, I look through the book, but for the most part, I want everything to be natural and intuitive once I get with the deck. So in the back of the Witch's Wisdom Tarot is Phyllis Curott, if I can find it, put up a chart to relate the cards that she has in the deck for the Major Arcana in relation to RWS. So the card that I pulled was the card of healing. Okay, it's kind of hard. I'll have to explain this card a little bit. But for here, the 8 card is actually related to temperance. And creating that balance for healing by connecting with our true self, but also in the conscious realm, using the sources that are here to help us see things in a different perspective. So here with the healing card, and I didn't even see this until I actually looked up the meaning of the card. This is actually, in the Witch's Wisdom, we have the Fool, who's now been renamed as the Pilgrim. And the journey of the Pilgrim is going through these different environments of Mother Nature and meeting all these different archetypes and animals and plants. But in this case here, what's happened is the Pilgrim has brushed against while walking. I cannot remember the name of the plant, but it has a toxin to it. And so what's happened here is the Pilgrim has brushed against the toxin. It's gotten into this person's system. And what we're looking at here is the person is faced up, like passed out, looking upward. And these are people who have come, or energy sources that have come to the Pilgrim's needs to help them, to help the person heal. So overall, this card is about taking that time, being patient with yourself, rest, recuperate, give the time that you need. You're still on this journey. And so when I got this card, and again, relating to temperance, we're creating that balance between what's there in front of us and what isn't. It's also relating to the healing of the mind, the body, and the spirit. So when I saw this, and then I have the Owl card, it's like, okay, this is interesting. This is going hand in hand. Physically, I don't have any major ailments. And so, and spiritually, there's always stuff that's healing and shifting within us, whether we're aware of it or not. And I think the healing that I'm feeling with this card is going through my spiritual practice, learning that information that I'm getting and applying it to help others, using that wisdom, creating it as my own, and being a guide to others. And whenever you're doing any form of healing work, divinatory work, you have to take that time out to take care of yourself. Of course, if you don't, that's when the fatigue and the mental breakdowns start happening. Physically, you start feeling weak, which in turn affects us spiritually. So when things start feeling overwhelming, take that time. This card's pretty self-explanatory, but in connection to the wisdom keeper, it's using that knowledge and knowing when to stop, recuperate, regenerate, and to move ahead. So this card was a nice direction to go from the Owl to healing. And then the last card I pulled is from the Mythical Creatures Tarot. And what I'm doing is, when I do my evening meditation readings, I'm only working with the major arcana. The major arcana for me are my guides. And I take their message. And what happens is when I do the major arcana pull, whether it's one card or two or three, I take the message that they have. And it's either conscious, I look at the image, understand the meaning of it. And I had talked about over the weekend about visualizing yourself inside the card and activating the senses that we have here so that you can truly experience what it's like to be in these cards. I don't do it with all the cards, but if there is one card in particular when doing my evening meditation draw, I will do that. I will pull that one card out and just look at it and start feeling the texture, the smell of the environment, taking in the colors, the temperature of the environment. That was one way I was learning to connect with the tarot, is by going into that realm consciously and looking at everything and exploring it as subconscious realm. It's pretty amazing. And when you do that, in turn, what happens is your dreams, you start using these guides, or that card that really came out to you, start using it as a guide to start looking into your dreams. You may have some weird dreams, and if it's something that's been reoccurring, it's probably a good time to do a card pull, because if it's coming up and you're still not making sense of it, pull a card from the major arcana and use that as a guide to help you decipher what's going on. What's the issue? Where's the pain? Where's the discomfort? Why would you question love in a dream? But where's that love coming from? Is it something that you're missing? This year has been hard. We've been socially divided by interacting with people. So a lot of my dreams, on the odd occasion, have been interacting with people, whether it's people I know or don't know or who I would like to know. It's been coming into that, and the dreams feel so real, and it feels like, oh, wow, that was such a fun time, and I wake up and it never happened. It happened in a different realm, but physically, that experience and the emotions that you were coming into didn't take place. So the last card that I pulled, sorry to deviate, is from the Mythical Creatures Tarot by BabaBarock Studios. And I pulled the Hierophant. And for people who do tarot, numerology, and astrology, but primarily with the tarot, many of you know that the Hierophant, as we go in the next few years, next year is 2021. It's a 5-year, and that is the major arcana of the Hierophant. One other thing that people can do is they can combine numbers, like the card 14. Combine that. That's temperance. You add those two numbers together, and that comes to 5. But I don't reduce numbers down if it's not necessary. Next year is a 5-year. The Hierophant is the 5 card, and that's the guide that will be there for us spiritually. And interesting enough, when I pull this card, it's also my birth card, my birth tarot card, the Hierophant. So I've been feeling in the last few months, and as my spiritual practice and metaphysical and all this information that I'm getting and feeling and psychically ingesting and whatnot, is leading to something for next year. And so that's why with these 3 cards that I just pulled, and I have to explain something else about the Hierophant, it kind of wowed me. Wow, okay. This is my sign. This is not the end of the year reading. I'll do that literally towards the last week or so of this year. But just to see the signs, have the owl, wisdom keeper, the knowledge, having the knowledge, continued learning, holding that key, and the key is also prominent in quite a few Hierophant cards. Then the healing, spiritually healing, taking time out. There are people out there to guide you and to help you along the way. I'll show you the card there. But also be careful not to get too overwhelmed, and watch out for, in this case, as I mentioned, the healing card. This is the Pilgrim's situation of where some toxins came came into this person's system and just completely, fell backwards and needs to really reassess and see how things are going. So that's the healing card. And with the Hierophant, here we see the centaur. And the centaur, in relation to the mythical creatures, this particular creature is Chiron. And Chiron is the wounded healer. In the very last part of your astrological charts, you have the North Node, South Node, and then you have Chiron. I didn't even look. I think my Chiron was in Pisces or Aries when I was born. It's one of the two, and I think Chiron right now is in Aries. And Chiron stays in a sign for quite some time. So this is the wounded healer. And Chiron is a master at many different things. Archery, hence the reference to temperance, because temperance is ruled by Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is the archer. Master at medicine, healing, spiritual knowledge. So this card, just like, yeah, okay, all righty. So when you get a reading like this, and it kind of sets, not kind of, and it sets the tone for how things are going, it's very enlightening, because this is a time of uncertainty, and all of this can change, but these are the guides. And remember, whenever you do a reading, you ultimately make the choice. You can change all of this. You could change the outcome in a reading. This, I'm on the path. I'm on the right direction of where I need to be. Okay, and there's no time frame for this. I rarely do time-framed readings, like if it's going to be in a few months, weeks, days. To me, that starts getting a little bit, not obsessive, but you start thinking too much, and you're going to start building up that urgency, anxiety to, like, okay, in 2 months this is going to happen. I don't like to do that. I just like to let things happen as it does. Hence why I like to do intuitive readings, and get my interpretation from each of the cards based on its meaning. But sometimes I get a reading that I can't really follow what the card's saying. I'm feeling something completely different, so I just go with it. So I titled this video "Prophesying" with the tarot and oracle decks. It's a pretty grand title, but I wanted to title it like that because I feel with this reading, it's prophetic to me, because it feels like it's the direction that I am going on, that I will be continuing on, and I will be doing other readings as time allows me to follow up on this. And again, I don't want to think too much about the specific reading that I just got, but also what happens is, in the last few readings that I've done for myself, everything has been spiritually centered. Everything has come up in a sense to work more in this direction with my practice, and to maybe steer clear of this. So I follow this. This feels very right for me. So in a way, I feel it is prophetic, and we'll see for next year, 2021. And the Hierophant. The Hierophant also relates to traditional values, but it's going to be challenging because the Hierophant, quite a few people interested in the tarot readers, I should say, they're not fond of the Hierophant because it shows a form of being stuck in tradition, not really moving ahead. But for me, I feel the Hierophant is someone who may have traditional values, old-fashioned in a sense, but I also feel it's a way of stepping back, stripping things down, and just getting back to basics to start building up again. And I feel that's what's going to be happening coming next year. So everyone will have to be supportive of that situation. And so this to me could be, I don't feel I'm going to be stripping things down, but I think I'm going to be getting more focused and using the tools, the information that I need that will benefit me and what knowledge I need to share with other people. So we'll see. So just going back again, first card I pulled was the Owl. Wisdom Keeper, the Key. And the order that I pulled these really doesn't matter because they weren't part of a layout. And then the Healing. Taking that time out for yourself, reassessing. And then the Hierophant, Chiron. Beautiful Chiron, master of so many different things, tools, skills, knowledge. So this is a wonderful card, and I embrace it as a key guide for the evening meditation that I did this weekend. And so thank you, new moon in Scorpio. When the moon's always in a water sign, I feel my practice goes even a little bit more deeper and allows me to connect with my cards much more. And that's what happened here. But it doesn't happen all the time. So when you do readings for yourself, whether it's a few cards or a full layout, I keep away from terms like prophecy and predictive forecasting, because as an intuitive reader, that's not what I'm doing. I'm not trying to forecast. I'm not trying to forecast something. I'm trying to guide the individual. And again, that's ultimately up to the person, how they want to do their outcome. So I'm very wary of using those words. The prophetic aspect of this card, I had to use that word because it feels very strong, and it feels for me personally like this is where I'm moving. Let's see what next year is going to hold. And so if anyone has a 2021 5-year Hierophant who's a Taurus and is watching this video, I'd like to know if you've been doing any readings for yourself that's going into 2021. And if you're seeing some interesting shifts that is going to possibly take place within yourself, your practice, environmentally, so on and so forth. So it's a very strong card. So that's my insight on this reading. If I get a reading like this similar, I do want to share it with you. This is actually my first one in the time that I've joined YouTube, just to share some feedback and how I connected with these cards. So that's it. A quick video. Tomorrow, Wednesday, November 18th, I'm going to be doing my oracle readings on Wednesdays, 2:30. And then this weekend, we're going to go into the first decan of Sagittarius. So I'm going to showcase that reading. And there's a video that I want to do that involves tarot and dreams that was sort of prompted for me to do by another YouTuber. So I have to figure out how I will discuss that. There are a few decks that I work with when it comes to dream interpretation. So I'll do that separately, maybe by next week. We'll see. But other than that, thank you for watching. This is Amy, the Mystic Rose Tarot. All the information to reach me for readings, socially connect on Instagram or through here. They're all in the description. I am available for readings. And so the way I come across on video is quite different when I do my readings versus being offline and doing my readings. I'm more focused. I'm not having to look at a camera or whatnot. So my energy placement for readings is a little bit different when I'm not in front of the camera. But that's it. Have a wonderful week. Hoping to see many of you soon. Feel free to subscribe. I let people make that choice. No pressure. Have a wonderful night, everyone.